Coming up on this episode of Photography Online, we give you some tips on shooting waterfalls, we chat to the winner of a big photo competition, and we answer your questions, direct and to the point. Welcome to part 2 of this month's Photography Online, which is brought to you by Squarespace, the perfect all-in-one platform for creating great looking websites and stores. More on that in a moment. Later on in the show, I'll be telling you about some exciting news for Photography Online in 2022, but first, let's get this show off and running. One of the regular features that we've been bringing you this year is the Subject Project, where we take a popular photographic subject and give you a few hints and tips on how to shoot, and then invite you to send us your results. Previously, we featured lone trees, dereliction and silhouettes, so check out these 3 shows if you want to know about taking great photos of those subjects. We thought it was time though to add to this list, so get your boots on and pray for rain. We're shooting waterfalls.
Let's face it, who doesn't love a good waterfall? The appeal of falling water in a photo can be both calming and dramatic. But the one thing which tends to divide people is whether to blur the water or not. More on that in a moment.
The first thing we need to do is to find a waterfall which works well as a photo, as not all of them do.
Many will work better at certain times of year. Some will work best when in full flood, and others may work better when their flow is low. There are no set preferences here, as each scene will dictate when it works best, and it's up to us as photographers to identify when this will be.
The best thing to do is to choose a waterfall which is reasonably local to you. That way you can visit many times in different seasons and different conditions to see how the scene changes. It's difficult to give specific compositional advice on waterfalls, as each one requires its own unique approach. Even if you brought 10 photographers to the same waterfall, they'd all come away with a different composition, unless of course they were influenced by each other, as they'd each see the scene in their own individual way.
However, there are a few generic rules we can follow to give us the best chance of getting a good composition. As with all scenes, the first thing to determine is the best viewpoint of the waterfall. This could be from close up or from afar, or there could be more than one good viewpoint. So take time to explore all the options and don't just accept the first obvious one you find.
If we're working close up to a waterfall, then the temptation is to use a wide-angle lens. However, it then becomes difficult to eliminate the sky, especially if our camera is pointing upwards to include the top of the waterfall. The problem with including sky is it becomes the brightest part of the scene, which will then compete with the waterfall for the viewer's attention.
Without the sky in our shot, the waterfall, which is our subject, will naturally be the brightest part of the image. But as soon as we introduce an area of sky, even if it's only a small area, then this will compete for attention and the impact of our waterfall will be diminished.
So if you can, try to find a viewpoint which will allow you to crop out the sky without excluding any important parts of the scene.
If we are shooting our waterfall from further away with a longer lens, then cropping out the sky should be much easier, as we'll probably be filling the frame with our subject anyway. If shooting with a wide-angle lens, then foreground will probably come into play, so getting down low will emphasise this. If using a longer focal length, then the height of the camera will have less of an influence. Remember to consider both landscape and portrait orientations. Some waterfalls are screaming out to be shot in the portrait format, whereas others may work in both landscape and portrait, so always experiment to see which option is best.
Just like with any landscape photo, light plays a key role and can make or break an image. If you shoot in the wrong light, then it doesn't matter how good your subject is or how good your composition is, the image will ultimately fail to reach its potential.
A vast amount of waterfalls will work best in overcast conditions, or at least when they're in shade. It's rare to find a waterfall which benefits from having direct light on it, but there will be exceptions.
All waterfalls have areas of bright white water, so if we've got direct light on these, it makes them extremely bright. Now, while this isn't necessarily a problem on its own, we're going to have to reduce our exposure in order to keep details in these bright areas. And by reducing the exposure, it means that any shadow areas, such as underneath the dark rocks here, is going to go completely black. So this is why we want to avoid shooting waterfalls when they've got direct light on them.
An overcast day will provide diffused light, which will reduce the contrast of the scene, and we should be able to easily record all the detail from the brightest highlight to the darkest shadow.
Another advantage with diffused light is that we don't have to worry about which direction the light's coming from, because diffused light comes evenly from all directions.
The use of a polarizer can really help when photographing water. Wet surfaces reflect light from the sky and appear as highlights, or at least bright tones, even if they are black rock. To ensure such surfaces remain dark, use a polarizer to reduce the light being reflected from them. Not only will this improve contrast of the scene, but it will also enable the white water to stand out from other highlight areas. Turn the polarizer until the desired result is achieved, and remember to realign it if changing from landscape to portrait or vice versa, something many people forget to do.
Now onto the slightly contentious issue of whether to freeze or blur the motion of the water. Now, the good news here is there is no right and wrong, it's whatever you decide. Some people can't stand the sight of blurred water and say it looks like cotton wool, whereas others find it far more pleasing and calming in an image. My personal view is that I like to see a reasonable amount of movement in the water, but it ultimately depends on the scene and the conditions at the time.
The one thing you want to avoid is getting caught in the middle. You either want to shoot at a short enough exposure to freeze the water as a sharp subject, or go to a long enough exposure to render the movement as an obvious blur. If you end up with something in the middle, not quite sharp yet not blurred enough, the shot will fail. So just be definite and confident about which way you want to go. If our scene is quite dark and sheltered from the light, and we need to shoot at a medium or small aperture to get the desired depth of field, such as with this example where we need front to back sharpness, then it's almost impossible to freeze the movement of the water, as the shortest exposure time is going to be around 1/8 of a second, especially if we're also using a polarizer.
Being able to achieve a short enough exposure time to freeze the movement of the water is going to require a really high ISO number, which isn't going to be great for the quality of the image. So sometimes the decision is made for us.
Assuming we want to go the other way and blur the motion of the water, then an exposure time of around 1/4 to 2 seconds will probably be best, but it ultimately depends on how fast the water is moving across the frame.
Most waterfalls move at exactly the same speed. After all, it's just water being influenced by gravity. It's our proximity to the waterfall and also our focal length which determines the speed of the water across our frame.
If we stand a long way from a fall, the water will be moving far more gradually across the frame than if we are close up to it. So this will influence the exposure time to achieve our desired result.
There's little point in doing an exposure longer than about 4 seconds. So don't be one of those photographers who uses a 10-stop ND and sits there for 5 minutes making an exposure.
The movement of water in a waterfall is a repetitive pattern. So once we have recorded this pattern over the duration of a second or two, Any further exposure time is simply repeating the same movement, so there will be very little, if any, difference between a 4-second exposure and a 4-minute exposure. All we are doing is wasting our time. The exception to this is if we have other slower moving elements within our frame, such as clouds or bubbles on the surface of the water, which will benefit from a longer exposure.
Finally, waterfalls present a few technical challenges, so foreseeing these will help prevent them.
The first is spray or splashes from the water itself. If we are working close to a fall, or if it is in full flood, it is likely we will get stray water on the front of the lens, so check this before you take your shot. Having a lens cloth or two in your bag is important, as using your sleeves isn't going to wipe away the water effectively, and could damage the coatings on your lens or filter.
Another potential technical issue is with image stabilization. Now, if you're using the camera on a tripod and you're aiming at a moving water and your intention is to blur that moving water, then it's really important that you turn image stabilization off, both on the lens and, if you've got it, in the camera as well.
Some image stabilization systems work optically, so they will try to follow any detected movement. If your subject is large, bright and moving, i.e. a waterfall, then the camera may try to follow this movement, and the result will mean that nothing in your photo is sharp.
Now obviously, if you're planning on hand holding the camera and freezing the motion of the water with a shorter exposure time, then it makes sense to keep image stabilization turned on.
Also remember that working around water, where you would typically have slippery surfaces, can be potentially dangerous. So pay attention to the risks and keep yourself and your equipment safe. Don't be this idiot.
Hopefully that gives you a few ideas to help you get some great waterfall shots of your own. And if you do, then please send them to us, as we love to see what you've been up to and how we're influencing the photos you take. As usual, we'll have a gallery of some of our favourites on next month's show. This month, we're thrilled that Squarespace are sponsoring the show, and even more thrilled that, having played with their website builder over the last few weeks, I can honestly say that building, hosting and publishing a website from scratch with their fantastic templates really is as simple as they say. Their built-in blogging tools allow you to share your voice and keep your followers up to date with what you've been up to, share the stories behind your images or schedule announcements. Maybe you've been in a fabulous location like this one and you want to bring people along on the journey. Whatever it is that you want to write about, Squarespace's blogging tools are, once again, simple to use and great to look at. Give it a go by heading to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready, go to the link in the description and enter code photographyonline to save 10% off your first purchase. Okay, so in our last show, you would have seen Colin Pryor, Paul Reynolds and myself debating which images should make the top 10 of Scotland's Photo of the Year 2021, which concluded last month. I can reveal that the winner, as voted for by the public, was Victor Soares, who took this atmospheric shot of a Highland cow in gorgeous warm light. I caught up with Victor to find out about the winning shot and to see how he plans to spend his £2,000 prize money. Okay, so Victor, first of all, thank you very much for joining us here on Photography Online, and congratulations on your image, 50 Shades of Gold, winning Scotland's Photo of the Year. Tell us, first of all about the shot. How did it come about? What's the story behind that?
So I'm natively from South Africa. I've lived in the UK now for 5 years and I'd never been to Scotland. So I wanted to go to Scotland, and funnily enough, these Highland cows was one of the things I really wanted to photograph, because they are iconic. We obviously had never seen them before, and I thought it to be really cool to get a photo of a Highland cow, or some photos. And then the one morning, the sun was really nice. It came out really nicely in the photo as well. We got nice and close to the cows. They were quite friendly, and we were allowed to get some of these really nice photos. So felt really good to finally get some photos of the Highland cows.
I mean, it's not often, usually when people say, you know, there's beautiful light in the morning or in the evening, they'll head off up a hill or they'll go and find a good landscape location. It's fantastic to see that absolutely stunning light, because you get a lot of shots. People love Highland cows, they love them. But that one, it was standout, it was special, and the light was absolutely stunning, It was beautiful.
the light is coming from the right side. I like to get behind the light, so shooting into it to try and get something a little bit different. And just turned out that frame that the car was actually looking towards the light as well, which made it really cool. So I thought that one should go into a competition somewhere. So I tried, and the rest is...
It's history. Well, we loved it. The judges loved it. The public obviously loved it because they voted it as Scotland's photo of the year. So obviously you won first prize, which... £2,000 of cash, which is a pretty good amount.
Very nice. Yeah.
Plus a camera, a Sigma FP camera, worth almost the same amount, so pretty decent. Can I be nosy and ask what you're planning or have splashed out on spending the cash on?
I actually haven't thought of it much, but I think probably I've always wanted like an Apple computer with a nice screen for processing photos and that kind of stuff. I'll buy my wife something really nice for Christmas too.
You've got to say that. Yeah, you absolutely
no,
have
I don't
to
have to say it. She's not here at all.
So, I mean, I don't know if you're planning entering again in 2022, but would you have any advice for anybody? Maybe keep it to yourself if you want, but do you have any advice for anybody thinking of entering next year?
I think the biggest thing is, I would say, is enter something that you really found. Like I said to you, when I saw this image off the back of my camera, I was like, wow, that one really is nice, and that really stands out. So something that you're particularly happy with. I wouldn't go chasing a shot, because I think when you chase a shot, you're just not going to get it, because you've got something in your mind that you can't really achieve, or that you're trying too desperately to achieve. So just enjoy what you're photographing, and on the chance that you do get the one that's like, wow, that really sticks out, and put that one forward. But honestly, I mean, I don't enter that many competitions, but the competitions that I've entered and the ones that I've done okay with, I've never won one like this, but the ones that I've done okay with is always the photo that I was really happy with.
And I think as well, because obviously this one's a public vote, maybe means a little bit more. It's, you know, that the people have enjoyed it. It's not just the judges' critiques, which obviously they loved it too, but knowing that the public actually have chosen that. Well, listen, Victor, thank you so much. And congratulations once again on winning Scotland's Photo of the Year. And thanks for chatting to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you'd like to be in with a chance of winning Scotland's Photo of the Year in 2022, the first thing you need to do is get a good photo of Scotland, but then you need to enter it into next year's competition, which will be open for entries from Easter through to October. Entries cost £5 per photo, but all profits go to local charities, which have benefited from over £1,500 so far from the competition. To see this year's results and to keep an eye on when you can enter for next year, visit scotland.photography, for which there's also a link in the usual place below. Now, we often show you footage of our team shooting in dramatic landscape conditions, but we know that many of our viewers have limitations with their mobility, so Marcus filmed a recent outing with his disabled son Miles as they went out to take his first ever landscape photo.
This is my 11-year-old son Miles. It's fair to say that he hasn't had the best of luck so far in life. He's unable to speak or control any of his muscles to do the things most of us take for granted. But there is one part of his body which he does have good control over, his eyes. Fortunately, that's the most important sense for photography.
Can you see the sun over there? See the sun? That's setting. Okay, over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and take a photo as the sun sets, because you've never taken a landscape photo before. Can you stop looking at the camera, please? Hey, look, you can't be that important. Stop stealing all the limelight, okay? This is not about you, it's a photography program. It's not about you, you're just a byproduct, okay? You see the sun over there setting, and we're gonna go to a hill where we get a nice view, and you're gonna take a photo of that sunset as it happens, okay? Because you've taken lots of wildlife photos, haven't you? Of birds. You've taken some really good ones, and you're getting very good at that. But you've never taken a landscape photo, so we're going to go and see if you're any good at taking landscapes. So that's our location over there, behind the church. You see that church over there? And you go up on the hill behind that, and we're going to get that in the foreground. and we're going to get the bay in the background. Do you think that'll be good? Miles, look, it's only 18 minutes past 3 and the sun's setting already because it's nearly the middle of winter. In 2 weeks' time, the days will start getting longer again, and then summer will be just around the corner. Daddy can get his mankini out again. Okay, listen, I need this hand back because we've got to do a very, very sharp turn, okay? All right, you're holding on. Right, way around we go. Oh, and I need to be in first gear. Look at that. If you look out to your left, Miles, look out that way, and then you'll see the view. And I don't want any comments about the power lines being in the way. Okay, there we go. So how's that for a view?
One of the many great aspects of doing photography as a pastime is that it's accessible to so many people. Unlike other hobbies such as golf, skiing, hiking or gaming, photography can be enjoyed by everyone equally, regardless of geographical location, financial status or physical ability. Okay, Miles needs some help, but photography gives him a reason to get outdoors into the fresh air and get a sense of satisfaction, something which is immeasurably important for him.
Okay, you sit down here. Let's just get these feet in, because I don't want you kicking me in the privates like you normally do. You got to remember we're on a hill here. Don't lean back too much, otherwise you're going to go like that. Whee! It's gonna. Whoa! Let's go around here. Put you side on. So there's your view. How's that for a view? Do you like it? Did you bring your camera? You brought your camera? You didn't forget your camera, did you? Did you forget your camera? You forgot your camera. That's a rookie error, isn't it? You don't want to forget your camera. It's like, oh no, let's do a face palm. Look, oh no, we've forgotten the camera. Well, that's all right because you can borrow mine, okay? Now you are lucky because this is no ordinary camera. This is the Canon 5DSR, the king of cameras, okay? Uh-huh. Okay, turn this on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put live view on for you. It says no card in camera. Don't you start laughing. I wasn't the one who forgot the camera. Might have forgotten the memory card, but at least I didn't forget my camera. Okay. So, activate live view. Now, what? Can we see anything? No, because we've left the lens cap on, haven't we? Silly monkeys. Right, look at that. I know. Now, let's focus on that church. Can you hear that beep? Can you hear the beep, beep? Beep, beep. That means the camera's saying it's focused. Okay, so now we've locked focus, we can turn that into manual focus because we don't want that to start hunting when it gets darker, do we? Now, you tell me, because this is the important bit, okay? This is what defines a photo. Do you want the church in the middle? No, good boy. Do you want the church on the left-hand side? Oh, good decision. That's where I would have placed it personally. So, there we go. Now, can you see that we've got a very bright sky and this is very dark down here? But if you look at the histogram, can you see that we can't really go any brighter because otherwise we're going to lose detail in the sky. Now this here is a double grad, okay? Whoever came up with this idea is a true genius. So this side, I know, it's amazing, isn't it? This side is a 3-stop soft. No, that's a 3-stop hard. And that side is a 3-stop soft. So look, let me show you the genius of this. You pop it in there, pop it in, okay? And then you watch the sky. Watch the sky coming in. Here it comes. Look at that. And then what we've done is we've reduced all the brightness up here. So now we can make the whole picture brighter. And then we get all our shadows back without overexposing the sky. I know, it's amazing. But this is the good thing. If you decided, hang on a minute, I want to have a soft grad instead of a hard grad, no problemo, because all you do is you turn it upside down, like that, and then you realign it, and there's your soft grad. I think it actually looks better with a soft grad. So all we need to do now is take the photo, because I don't think anything's going to happen with the light, really. It's all a bit of an anticlimax. But you tell me, Miles, you tell me when you want to take the photo. Okay? You shout, and I know I take the photo. Okay, well, listen. Whoa, look at that. Now let's just check it. Look at the histogram, that's the most important thing. And we're a little bit too hot there, look, can you see? Just a little bit too hot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna reduce the exposure a little bit from a 15th to a 20th, okay? You tell me when to take the photo again. That's better, look at that. That's a work of beauty, that histogram there. We've got everything from the brightest highlight to the darkest shadow within the range of this amazing camera. Are you cold now? I know, well that's one of the downsides with landscape photography in the winter, is it does get cold, and can you feel my hands? They're quite numb. Yeah? What happens if I put them down here? Oh, oh, ah, oh, 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 oh my goodness. Oh, this is quite, my hands are getting lovely and warm down there. Is that, or can I keep my hand down there? Come on then, let's go home.
One of the things Miles can do is read, so if you want to send him a message, then we'll make sure that he gets to see them. On the subject of disability, Marcus is working on the development of a new super lightweight tripod head, which can be operated with one hand. Although intended to just be easier for everyone, it will be useful, especially for anyone with a disability, which may limit how they can use their arms or hands. We'll keep you updated with info on that. So who wants some good news? All right, well, from next month, we're going to be presenting a brand new show called Photography Online Live. This will be a 90-minute live broadcast each month by myself and the team, who will be expanding on some of the features in our pre-recorded shows, showing some behind-the-scenes footage, plus answering your questions. We'll be featuring some guest photographers and hearing the story behind some of their best images. We'll be giving our verdict on some of our viewers' photos, plus we'll be undertaking some live on-location landscape shoots. As we'll have a live audience, we'll be doing polls and giving away prizes too. Basically, it's going to be 90 minutes of photography-related fun with the added jeopardy of being live and being at the mercy of technology. We like to think of Sundays as being Photography Online Day, so we'll be broadcasting this on the third Sunday of every month at 7:30 p.m. UK time. Unlike our two existing monthly YouTube shows, this one will only be available to our mid-level and above supporters. But there's good news here too. We've introduced a new Photography Online supporter level, which we've called a PO Live supporter, for just $8.99 a month. So for those of you currently on our lower super supporter package, firstly, thank you for helping us make these shows and keeping them ad-free, but you can now upgrade by just £6 and get more than double the Photography Online content each month. It also means that you'll have something new to watch almost every week, and you could win a decent prize. In our first show, which will be on December 19th, we'll be giving away £100 of case filter vouchers. If you're already one of our existing supporters, do stick with us until the end of the show, because we'll be giving you all a mention to say a big thank you for making these shows possible. Okay, so a couple of months ago, we were bringing you the show from the NEC. We did a Q&A session with the whole team. Now, many of you enjoyed this far more than we expected you to, and even requested that we do another one. Well, request granted. All right, guys, well, thanks for getting together once again, because believe it or not, people actually seem to enjoy the Q&A that we did last time down at Birmingham. So we've got a whole lot more questions that have been sent in, a whole pile of them. I'm going to ask some of them. I think you guys got some other ones that I'm not aware of as well to ask. So let's crack on. First question, this is for you, Harry, actually. I'm just getting into photography and would like your advice on which brand of camera to get.
No,
Easy.
Careful.
I think the short reality of it is it doesn't matter these days. Try, if you can, to go into a physical shop, those still exist, and try them in your hand, because there's going to be one camera that fits your hand better and you like the feel of more than something else, and that's not down to a particular brand, that's just personal choice.
I think Nick's got a question next.
Yeah, so this one's to Marcus. After watching your feature about infinity focus and where infinity starts for each focal length, do I need to adjust these figures if I'm using a micro four thirds camera?
Okay, this question was actually asked quite a lot of times, so with hindsight it's probably something that I should have probably covered in the feature. But the easy answer is no, you don't, because infinity is set to the focal length. So 50mm lens will be roughly about 50 meters where infinity starts, and that's regardless of what sensor size you're using. So even if you're using a large format camera or micro four thirds camera, it's still exactly 50 meters. Which brings us on to a question which I think you'll be best to answer, Harry, because it's also to do with sensor sizes. This person is asking, after watching your review of the Canon 800mm f11 lens, I thought I would suggest an alternative for Sony shooters who may be using the A7R4 in APS-C mode. This will effectively give you a 27 megapixel camera. If you use it with the excellent Sony 200 to 600mm lens, you effectively get 300 to 900mm at a maximum aperture of f9.5.
You got all that, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, the 200 to 600mm lens is a good lens, so it's a fair suggestion. But we've got to be careful if we're talking about comparisons with using a camera in APS-C mode, because essentially all that's saying is it's a fancy way of saying, well, the camera is cropping your image by 30, 40, whatever amount percent in camera. It'd be the same as me taking my 800mm on the Canon R5, cropping by 30% to get the same amount of megapixels, 26, 27 megapixels, and that effectively turns my 800 into a 1200mm. It's, we could do that with any lens. We could just say, right, let's just shoot on a 200mm lens and crop by 150%, because then we can get 1000mm. Not the same comparison. We've got to be careful, and I'm not a massive fan of these cameras that kind of let you shoot in an APS-C mode rather than just letting you crop the image afterwards like you normally would. Right, so off the back of that, I've got a question for Ruth. So someone is asking about some of our ECS features, saying, I've really enjoyed these features where you explain things like depth of field, infinity, and where you dispelled compression theory. I learned more from watching these features than from any other source. Would it be possible to combine them into one video so it's all in one place for people to access?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably a possibility. We could do probably something similar to what we did to our top 10 views of Sky, which again we had quite a few requests for to join them together. So I think we could probably bring that together, add a few extra bits in there, and maybe put out as a special. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. Right, so here's another one for you, Nick. Someone has said, I never see any of you using camera straps. Is there a reason for this?
Yeah, basically they're a nuisance. They just get in the way. As a landscape photographer, if your camera's on the tripod, it blows about in the wind. So basically, yeah, they're just a nuisance.
I did see a few squeamish comments actually when you guys were out shooting seabirds over the cliffs, holding your cameras quite far out with not so much as even a wrist strap on there. So no possibility of, safety feature on it as well?
No, well, I find they get more in the way than I'm more likely to then drop something or make a mistake when there's it's either like curled around, I'm trying to use the controls with a strap around, I know I can hold a camera in my hand and I'm not going to,
says Harry.
I sometimes drop it,
yeah.
but...
Yeah, exactly.
And Danger is my middle name anyway, so there you go.
Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, moving on. So this is a question for everybody, actually. So we'll start with you, Nick. What aspect of photography do you like the most? What's most enjoyable for you?
For me, it's just getting out there, being outside with the camera, enjoying the great outdoors. You know, you hear a lot about good for mental health, just being outdoors, and yeah, I can fully agree with that. So just getting out there with the camera, being outdoors.
Cool. Marcus?
For me, it's the challenge, really. I like to set myself ambitious challenges and then, you know, go about solving them or achieving them. And that for me is what gives me the kick out of photography.
Harry?
I would probably say a way of just capturing what I'm seeing. So there's you know, I love just using it as an excuse to be outside. I used to enjoy printing in a darkroom. That was one of the big reasons I used to shoot. But now it's the sense of satisfaction and kind of achievement I get from knowing I've nailed a shot of an eagle. That's that moment of, I know I've got it. I think that's what kind of keeps me going out, trying to get the next best shot.
So here's one for you, Nick. I see a lot of contradicting information online about camera technique and photography theory. How can I know who to believe?
Straight answer, watch photography online. That's who you believe. Now, in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. There is a lot of, I guess you could say, misinformation out there. And, you know, if you're looking at YouTube, for instance, a lot of vloggers, you know, are out there giving their information across, and it may not be right. But yeah, who do you trust? Well, I would probably trust a professional photographer, you know, who has a good body of work. And that to me would say, you know, they have the technical knowledge. So first and foremost, I'd probably more, you know, trust them than someone who's, I guess, an amateur photographer who's just, you know, sharing their experience on YouTube. But the information they're giving across may be second, third hand. You know, obviously that drip feeds down from videos to videos, and you might be getting the wrong information. So yeah, I mean, I would predominantly trust professional photographers. And I have a final question for Ruth. This has been probably asked many times. So do you have any vacancies for new team members? And if so, where do I send my CV?
I'm not sure that you have thought this question through. Do you guys really want to be team members? Photography Online team members? I don't know.
Really.
I mean, look at these three mugs. Give us your best smiles, guys. Do you really want to join this team? Yeah, I don't know. If you really want to, yeah, send us your CV. Send it to Marcus, care of Isle of Skye, and see if it gets to him. And we'll have a look. We'll see what you're made of. Get back to you. Cool. All right, well, that's all the questions I think that we have. So thanks for kind of getting together again. I know everyone's kind of off on hauls and stuff just now, but hopefully that'll satisfy people. But if anyone does still have questions, absolutely, by all means, email us, stick them in the comments, whatever. And if there is still loads more appetite, we'll do another one of these sometime in 2022. Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, please send them to us via the contact link below, or simply leave them in the comments, as we do read all of them and do reply to any questions which come in. There will be a slight change to our usual schedule regarding our next show. Usually this would have been in 2 weeks' time, but due to the team needing to have a well-deserved festive break, our next show will be an extended special episode on January 9th. Don't worry, you will still get the same amount of content, but there will just be a slightly longer wait for it. If you can't wait that long, then we do have our live show next Sunday the 19th, so why not join us for that by becoming a Photography Online live supporter. If we wouldn't see you for that, then the team and I need to wish you all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year now, as you won't see us until the new year. If you're a current supporter, then you'll see your name here. It's all these people who have made it possible for us to make our shows over the past year, so thank you on behalf of all the team. Okay, well, from myself, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the other side. Until then, take good care, but most of all, take good photos.
The best thing to do is to choose a waterfall which is reasonably local to you, so that you can visit in old... Guys, that wind! Ah! Right. The best thing to do is to choose a waterfall which is reasonably local to you, so you can visit in... It's cold!
If that all sounds good and you would like to be a part of Photography Online Live, damn it.
And then, if you decide that you want to have a soft grad, just turn that bad boy upside down. Don't you start laughing at me. Wait. Effectively give you 300 to 900 millimeters at a maximum aperture of sorry. You know, I've chipped my tooth.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's the tooth's fault.
Here we are.
It really affects my speech. Right, hang on, let's do this again, sorry.
Debating which images should make the top 10 of Scotland's photo of the year. Shut up, Marcus. I know. Shut up.
My personal view is I like to see a reasonable amount, whereas others think it looks smooth water and say it looks like cotton wool, whereas others, but it ultimately depends on the scene and the conditions at the time. Yes!